Bring it, we'll take it.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
There you go. That's the cleaning event. It's on Saturday.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Yeah, so first, we were supposed to buy from Bill. However,
once it's working with him, what do you like?
Yes, he did a good job, and everything went very well. And so he very focused pricing, and I will ask that anyone that wants to buy a house, it will be one of the best.
You send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Yeah, so first, we were supposed to buy from Bill. However,
once it's working with him, what do you like?
Yes, he did a good job, and everything went very well. And so he very focused pricing, and I will ask that anyone that wants to buy a house, it will be one of the best realtor to work with. Thank you.
All right. For those of you who are perpetuating yourselves in tenancy, just making those generous contributions on a monthly basis. Help me understand this 2026. What is stopping you from financially forward thinking? Talk to you soon.
Oh. Red one.
Yeah?
Hey.
I
can't do that. Yeah. I already took it down. Yay. Hi.
Dinner. All two at a time in the bed?
Yeah. Yeah. So how was your experience today?
Amazing.
Well, bye-bye. Say bye.
Very, very amazing. I'm so proud of him, This brings tears to my eye for the kind of work he has done in a short period of time.
Guys, can I show you something about appreciating? I'll just...
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
All right. So we remain in anticipation of our guest to join us today.
Yeah, so first, we were supposed to buy from Bill. However,
once it's working with him, what do you like?
Yes, he did a good job, and everything went very well. And so he very focused pricing, And I will ask that anyone that wants to buy a house, it will be one of the best realtor to work with. Thank you.
All right. For those of you who are perpetuating yourselves in tenancy, just making a generous contribution on a monthly basis. Help me understand this 2026. What is stopping you from financially forward thinking? Talk to you soon.
Oh, the red one.
All right. And so if you are just making those generous contributions on a monthly basis, help me understand this 2026. What is stopping you from financially forward thinking as we wait for our special guest to come in studio.
I already took it down.
Caught up in something or have forgotten. But let me give her a call and see, as what is obtaining. Where is she? I've got several showings. I canceled today. About 7 showings.
So how was your experience today?
This show apparently looks like it's going to be canceled too. But let me reach out to this client.
Very, very amazing. I'm so proud of him, This brings tears to my eye for the kind of work he has done in a short period of time.
Guys, can I show you something about preaching? I'll just...
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
I don't know why the child had to use that big vocabulary there. She wanted to say appreciation. But it is totally understandable, But let me reach out to our guest and see what is obtaining down there. Yeah, you forgot?
Well, I'm waiting for a link to be able to come on, so I sent you a message.
Oh, I thought I texted it to you. See ya. I texted it to the number. Yeah, I texted it to that number. Check again.
I sent you a text. Still on text later, moving to next month. So.
No, I sent you the link. Just let me drop the call and make sure.
Okay.
Still on for tonight or movie? Oh wow. I sent it to another number apparently. Oh wow. My bad. Oh my bad.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Every month you send that rent check. Every month you send that check, you call it rent. It's just a generous contribution you are making towards the future of another man. So help me understand this 2026. What is stopping you from financially forward thinking and perpetuating yourselves in tenancy, But we are going to have what? The expert here, Tell us.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Income tax credit, but when it comes to getting in the game, there is a hurdle, that down payment assistance. And so the financial expert is going to be here today telling us, how you...
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Yeah, how you can jump over that hurdle.
So first, we were supposed to buy from Bill. However,
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
But first, let me ask you. Help me understand what is stopping you from financially forward thinking. Let's go.
Yeah, wake up, check the bank account. Watch the numbers running out. Send the check to someone new. Generous is what I do. Walking down the leasing street. Cycle that I just repeat. Money rushing.
Just walking down the leasing street.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Yep.
Good job.
I mean, every month you
and
send that check.
everything went very well.
You call it what?
And
You call it
so
rent.
he
But it's actually what? A generous
very
contribution that you are
person,
making
and I will ask that anyone that wants
towards
to
the
buy a
financial
house,
welfare of
will be
another
one of the
man.
one of the best
So help me
realtor
understand
to work
this
with.
2026. I mean,
Thank
what is
you.
stopping
All
you?
right. Those of you who are perpetuating yourselves in tenancy, just making those generous contribution on a monthly basis. I mean, help me understand this 2026. What is stopping you from financially forward thinking? Talk to you soon.
Okay. You saw the link, right? Lola, I sent it to another number. You saw the link?
I can't do that.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah. I already took it down. Yay. Hi.
All two at a time in the bed?
Yeah. Yeah. So how was your experience today?
Amazing.
Well, bye-bye. Say bye.
Very, very amazing. I'm so proud of him, you know. This brings tears to my eyes.
All right. Okay,
Guys,
so
can I
we
say something
have our
about our
special
preaching?
guest here
I'll just
today.
Every month you send a check.
That is going to help us to understand, how you can bypass this hurdle. I'm not mindful of the fact that we have special challenges when it comes to buying. Home buyers, they have special challenge. And so, first and foremost, let us welcome Cynthia to the podcast. Can you briefly introduce yourself and your role in the project Reinvest?
Right. So I'm Cynthia Tyson. I am a home mortgage loan officer, and I have been doing down payment assistance loans for over 25 years, helping homeowners become homeowners even when they thought they couldn't. If you have challenging credit, we'll work through what it'll take in order to get you up to the credit scores high enough to get the down payment assistance. If it's income, what do we need to work through? Do we need another co-signer? How can we work through that? And just kind of helping you through your entire journey so that when you become a homeowner, you're a successful homeowner. So today,
all right. For those of you who are said, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so today we're going to talk about turning I can't buy yet, because that's what people often say is, I just can't buy yet. I just can't buy yet. And it's like, no, let's turn it into I'm moving in. I'm moving in. You're going to shout that from the rooftops. I'm moving in.
All right. As the first page says, turning I can't buy yet into what? I'm moving in. Can you explain the core challenge Project Reinvest aims to address for aspiring homeowners, and what are the primary challenges that Project Reinvest seeks to understand and overcome? Help us understand.
You bet, William. The one thing that keeps people from buying is the down payment to get into the house. Typically, you need 3%, or if you're going FHA loan, you need 3.5%. So on a $300,000 loan, it's 3% or $9,000 towards down payment. And most people might be getting a tax return back, but it might only be $5,000 or $6,000, maybe $7,000, right? If they're blessed and some money's coming back in. So you need the 3% for the down payment, but you also need 3% for closing costs and prepaid. So now the $9,000 that's needed to buy that $300,000 house suddenly becomes $18,000, right? So where that comes in is we have down payment assistance in Hennepin and Ramsey County at Old National Bank. We'll go 3% of the purchase price. So we just eliminated the reason that you can't buy yet, because we just gave you the money for the down payment. Now we've got to come up with 3% for the closing costs and the prepaids. That's taxes and insurance and interest from the closing date to the end of the month. And we can usually do some of that through seller pays. although we're in a really big season now where it's more like a seller market rather than a buyer's market. We just came out of a buyer's market, been a seller's market, and so maybe that 3% isn't available, and all I really have is $4,000 or $5,000. Maybe I only have $1,000 or $2,000. So where else can we get that money? There are other down payment assistance programs that are available. They do have money one day and don't have money the next. So I really am a fan favorite of Minnesota Housing. But today we're going to talk about the next loan program that I have available up here. And I forget the name. There's so many of them. I apologize. Can you go to the next page?
All right. It says what? Meet the buyer. Not the presentation describes a typical buyer as qualified and ready with strong income and credit, but yet and still struggling with upfront cost. I mean, can you elaborate on why these buyers face difficulties despite their strong financial standing? I mean, help us understand.
Right. So somebody who's a qualified buyer is qualified and ready, right? Or they think that they're ready. They have strong income. Strong income means that they have been working for the last 2 years. Does not mean in the same job, but it does mean that in the same, usually, industry. Maybe I was going to school for 2 years to become a nurse, and now I'm a nurse. Well, the minute I become a nurse, I get to use that income right away because you've already had the 2 years history behind you as being a student. That counts. So strong income just means that you have dependable, stable income that we're able to count on, and we can show a history of it or a history that includes being a student to show that you have the ability to continue that on an ongoing basis. And credit. Credit is very important. The higher your credit score, usually the lower your interest rate is, although I have some first-time homebuyer programs that doesn't matter whether you're a 600 credit score or an 800 credit score, it's the same interest rate. But we want to try and get you into the best home loan possible. And the better we can get your credit score, the better programs that become available to you. And most of those people, we find they're struggling with the upfront cost, that $3,000 for the down payment assistance and that $3,000 for the closing costs and prepaids, right? And again, like I said, Old National Bank has the 3% for the down payment assistance to help them in Hennepin and Ramsey. And then there also is the 3% for the closing costs. And sometimes you can get the seller to pay all 3%. So now you're in the house for a couple of $1,000, and that really is a nice thing to have happen. It just doesn't always happen that way, that we can get the seller to pay that other 3%. So there's a down payment assistance right now that's called Project Reinvest Down Payment Assistance. And that is the one that we want to kind of talk about in a little bit here. We're just going to go next to the next screen with strategies that changes everything, because that's what we want to do.
All right. Strategies that changes what? Everything. Now, how does Project Reinvest strategy helps individual move from waiting to buying a home? I mean, help us understand, Cynthia.
Right? So strategy, when we sit down and we look, maybe it's I need to help you get your credit score better. Maybe we need to get a co-signer in order to bring in. Maybe we need to get a little bit more stable in your income. But creating a strategy, creating a way or a plan in order to move forward, rather than always thinking that you can't buy. Let's get you to the point where you can say, listen, I can do this, right? And so that strategy is down payment assistance options, and we're going to move you from waiting to buying, and we're going to put you into a personalized home buying plan.
All right. For those of you who are perpetuating yourselves in tenancy, just making those generous contributions you call rent. I mean, help me understand this 2026. What is stopping you from financially forward thinking? Project Reinvest Down Payment Assistance. Or could you provide an overview of the Project Reinvest Down Payment Assistance program, including its purpose, the geographical location or area it services? I'm not mindful of the fact that the program offers what, $10,500 in assistance. In Minnesota, what factors determines the amount of assistance applicable to recipient?
So the Project Reinvest provides down payment assistance to help home buyers in the 7-county metro area in Minnesota. And what I'm talking about, Project Reinvest then does the down payment. So now if you're going to use Old National Bank's 3%, we can use Old National Bank's 3% for the closing costs. Old National Bank's money is flexible between down payment and closing costs, where this money is meant for down payment. And this is up to $10,500 in assistance. You as the consumer must contribute at least $1,000 to the transaction of your own money. It can't be borrowed money. You do not even have to be a first-time home buyer to use this program, which is great. This one, Project Reinvest, is a loan, whereas Old National Bank is a grant, right? So the day of closing, I'm going to hand you the money at the closing table that gets applied towards everything from Old National Bank, and I'm going to walk away and say, congratulations, it is your money. It is completely forgiven. You now have that much more in equity built in. Whereas a Project Reinvest is only for down payment, but it has no monthly payment associated with it and no interest, right? So the $10,500 or whatever dollar amount we end up getting from them, right, is due upon sale, or you're no longer an owner of the house, or so a divorce could happen that way, that it's due. It could be that I've moved to another house. If I've moved to another house that's no longer my primary residence, then the $10,500 is due. The loan must be paid back when you sell the home, transfer title, or no longer live in the home. But it's a 30-year term, and so if I pay my first mortgage off in 30 years, then at the end of 30 years, I owe that $10,500, and I can hopefully pay it. I've been saving a little bit every month, $25 a month over the 30 years or whatever it is, and I can pay that $10,500 back. But when I go to sell in the middle of it, I've been in there 5 years, and I go to sell, I do have to pay that back at that time as well. So that's always out there. So my mortgage might say that I owe $265,000, but there's always this silent $10,000 extra that's out there that you need to remember that it's there. But it helps you now when we're in a seller's market to get more money in to be able to buy more home without as much out of pocket for you. So you become a homeowner quicker. You become a homeowner without the heavy burden of the down payment. And we're just going to go on to the next screen there, William, on eligibility.
Yeah, before we go there, Project Reinvest requires what? A minimum contribution of $1,000 from home buyer. Help us understand. What is the rationale behind this requirement?
Right. The rationale is that if they have found that they've reduced the foreclosures on first-time homebuyer programs, right? They've reduced the foreclosures by 75% by having the consumer contribute at least $1,000 into the transaction, because then they feel like they have a sense of ownership in the home, and not that it was just something that they got it in a surprise Cracker Jack box kind of thing, right? As a gift. This truly is their home ownership, and they've got themselves invested in it.
All right. And this program is not restricted to first-time home buyers. Who else can benefit from this program, and why is this flexibility important?
Well, this program is not restricted to first-time homebuyers, nor is the Old National Bank restricted to first-time homebuyers. You can't own a lot of homes after. You can't be building your portfolio, but maybe you have a home that you're selling and then your home that you're buying, or maybe this is going to be another home and you've grown out of the other home. But then you can receive the down payment assistance as well. You can't be the third home in a string of homes and you still own home 1 and 2. It can be home 1, it can be home 2 and still owning home 1. But after that, then the assistance disappears. So it's important. This is to help you build wealth. And people like to build wealth in the very beginning of their lives when income and assets are a little bit on the short side. So we're trying to help boost people into becoming homeowners and building their wealth in their family.
All right. Now let's look at eligibility. What are the specific income requirements, such as what? Up to what? 100% AMI guideline for eligibility. Yep. Help us understand.
So right now we're based upon the 2025 AMI, and that is called Area Median Income. And in Minnesota, a household of one, that's 92,700. Person of two is 105. Person of three is 119. Family of four is 132, etc. You can see that. Some programs like Old National uses that 132,400, and we times it times 80% to be 105,360, I think it is. And then that's all the whole household, no matter whether there's 1 or 30 people in the household. The 105,360 is what the Old National program is. This one is dependent upon how many people are in the household that dictates the median income that can be used for a family. So if I'm a family of 5 and I'm earning 143,000, I'm eligible for this Project Reinvest money, but I'm no longer eligible for the Old National Bank money, right? So there's many roads, many avenues, many chutes and ladders that kind of happen that we have to look at to see what's best for your family. Is it household income that's used in this particular program, Project Reinvest? It's household income. In the Old National Bank program, it's applicant income. Can you have assets left after buying? In this particular program and in Old National Banks, you can. But if we're doing Minnesota Housing and we're doing a deferred payment program where the down payment assistance for Minnesota Housing is deferred, then that one has an income limit after assets after closing that are allowed. So that's a $13,000 assets after closings that's allowed. So again, there's so many different little intricate pieces. You really need somebody who understands the roadmap and understands the map that can help you move amongst them and figure out what's best for you and your family. The one thing that I really like about this program is it is Anoka, Carver, Dakota, Hennepin and Ramsey, Scott, and Washington counties. So it's not just in Hennepin and Ramsey County, it is the other counties as well. And that's a really great opportunity to use that. Now, I heard today that they're running out of money, but I heard there's another one that's coming up that they're opening up. So I will present that one next week. That's Metro Home. And so these little ones like this, they come up, they fund for a while, and then they go back down again. Maybe there's some money left over, and 3 months from now or 60 days from now, we might find a little bit of money, so they might be open for a day or two. We just need to be ready for it. There's certain requirements that you need to do. You need to, and we'll move on to the next, the buyer step, if you don't mind, William.
Yeah, but before we go there, I'm kind of baffled. I mean, if you could help us understand, we said this program is not restricted to first-time buyers, okay? But then for eligibility, it says that the program requires the home to be primary residence. I mean, can you help us understand? It seems to be somehow conflicting there.
Well, it's primary residence, meaning that's where I'm going to live, right? And when you're in a primary residence, that's where you live. That's what you homestead in order to receive reduced property taxes. And it's where I choose to live. So I might live at my grandmother's in the summertime, but I have my regular house here in the winter time. This is where I file my taxes, my IRS taxes off of my home here. In Minnesota, that's my primary residence. That's where I'm raising my family. That's where I live, work, and play out of.
All right. Now let's look at page 6. Buyer step. How do I apply? What is the importance of home buyers education or framework, pre-purchasing advising appointment, and when must these be completed? Help us understand.
Right. These 2 steps: home buyer education or framework with a pre-purchase appointment. All these secondary little down payment assistance programs that pop up and come down and pop up and come down, that is their requirement that has come into play. They used to let you take a class after you wrote the purchase agreement, but they're no longer doing that. They want you to take the homebuyer education class, which is 8 hours in person, or if you're going to use Framework, which is an online class, then you have to do a one-on-one pre-purchase advising appointment, which takes 1 hour, right? And that can be done on the phone. But those two things, either the homebuyer education or the Framework homebuyer education online with the pre-purchase advising appointment, that has to be completed before you write the purchase agreement in order to get these funds. So because that's become a standard for so many different funds, it is a good idea to do that no matter what, right? And it's good for 12 months. So if I'm thinking I might be buying this fall, I need to be doing those steps now so that I'm ready. If all of a sudden the house pops up, I think, oh, I'm not going to probably buy until September or October, but I go and I take the class, and all of a sudden I'm looking, and the house that I've been just driving by and really like suddenly came up. It's in my price range. Now I don't have to scramble to go take the class and make sure I've got all those ducks in a row, or that I'm losing out on down payment assistance because I haven't done it, but I need to make an offer on that house. So getting this done, this is the very first step that you need to do. Homebuyer education or Framework. If you send me an email, send an email to William. We will make sure that we send you the links so that you can take these classes now, so that when the time comes for you to make an offer, you have the ducks in a row, so to speak. And then you're going to apply within 24 hours of application. And your loan officer helps you submit the supporting documents to all of these programs. We don't leave you out in the cold. You need someone like us that's going to help you get through all of the steps that are required, and we'll go next one. Let's do this next one, right? And we'll help you get your first mortgage pre-approval. We'll help you get the fully executed purchase agreement that comes from your realtor, but we're going to make sure everything's in there. Your education certificates, you'll have those already done because you have to have them done before you can write the purchase agreement. Most recent 30 days of pay stubs is also in there. And actually, many of them are now starting to ask for the most recent 5 pay stubs because they want to see the consistency of the income coming in. 2 years of tax returns with all schedules, meaning all pages, just all pages of your federal tax returns. Shoot it at me, that'll work. And W-2s. W-2s are not the same as tax returns. W-2s are something that your employer gives you by the end of January that you have to use in order to report your income on your tax return. So the W-2 comes from your employer. We need that. We're going to be asking for 2 months of your most recent bank statements. So in all honesty, stop moving money around. If you do a lot of Venmo to your friend because they buy coffee and then you just reimburse them, stop. Just stop, right? We don't like to see a lot of Venmo. We really don't like to see a firm, because if you've got 4 payments that are due on a firm, guess what? You either got to pay it off, which is taking money from your down payment, or we've got to work it into your debt to income ratio, right? So Klarna, Affirm, all those short-term pay, buy now, pay later, but they're very short-term. You want to really try and stay away from doing anything with them when it's coming time in order to buy. We just want to keep everything as clean and as possible. And then your state identification. It's a government-issued photo ID. Could be your driver's license, could be your passport, but it's going to be your face and your information. And that's needed in order to confirm you are who you say you are.
All right. Let's find your path forward. I mean, how does Project Reinvest help individuals review their qualifications and explore suitable assistance program? And what does the process of creating a personalized home buying strategy with Project Reinvest entails? I mean, help us understand.
So what we'll do is we'll find your path forward. We're going to help set up a plan for you. You're going to make sure what class are you taking. I'll stay in touch with you with the class. Did you have any questions? How did the class go? Some people will do it in 4 hours and 4 hours. When's your next 4-hour block? Some people do it all on a Saturday in 8 hours. Some people will do the framework online. Just keeping it going. And like you might take a class, the framework, the online class, but now you got to do the one-on-one. and you've called to set that appointment, nobody's calling you back, well, guess what? I can figure out where else I can get you that appointment. Sometimes we've gone up as far as Detroit Lakes, right? Minnesota, because that office wasn't so busy, and we've gotten the one-on-one appointment. They're done by the phone. They're authorized to do it. I just know different people that can help you get these things done. And then once that's done, you can write that purchase agreement. But you really need to take that first step in front of everything else if you can. We'll explore assistance programs. Again, Minnesota Housing and Old National Bank are tried and true. They're not going away. We'll start with those. And then as you find your house, when you know where you're going to be buying, then we'll start developing what other programs are there. Are we using the City of Richfield program? Are we using the City of Coon Rapids program? Shorewood has money right now. What other loan program are we going to use to bring in order to assist you in buying this home? And then we'll create that strategy for you so that you know what the steps are that you're going to take in order to move towards becoming a homeowner. And some of us, we start out with our credit, right? But I can be working on my credit and still go to the classes. I don't have to do one or the other. You can do multiple things at the same time so that we get you to the point where when the house comes up that you really wanted and we're surprised it's already available, we pull your credit, you've been through the classes, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, look at, I'm ready to buy. And there you go.
All right. So let's find your path forward, okay? I mean, give us a call, give Cynthia or I a call, okay? So that we can get to review your qualifications, explore assistance program, and most importantly, create a strategy. Right. But what is the most important piece of advice you would give to someone considering home ownership but struggling with the down payment? I mean, help us understand.
I think that the most important thing that I would tell people is actually credit is probably the first stumbling block. And let's not be afraid of me seeing your credit, because I've had terrible credit, right? I personally have been in the low 300s, and I built my credit back up to the 700s, 800 credit score. I've been through that process. I've learned that process. I can help you through that process to get there. So when you talk to me about your credit and you go, oh, I'm so ashamed, and it's like, listen, I've been there. No big deal. Let's figure out how to fix what happened and get you moving forward. Nobody told you how important credit was for your future life, right? They didn't tell you that you need to pay bills on time so that you can get interest rates that help you buy homes and help you buy a car and help you, right? Help you rather than rob you, because now you're paying 29% for a car loan because you made some late payments on a credit card from when you were a student. Let's figure out how to fix those things and put you back on the horse riding the right way in the right direction. That's the first one. Second one is down payment assistance. Can help you get the down payment assistance you need. We can put a strategy together. When is the best time for you to buy to get the most down payment assistance that's available? And do I know every program that's coming up? No, not until it's been announced. We don't know that they're coming. Maybe there might be a little bit of ruffles in the wind, but we go to a lot of classes, a lot of events, a lot of online webinars in order to continue to learn about what's out there and what's available for our customers, because we want you to have us be informed so that we can help you. Does that make sense, William? And William is a fabulous real estate agent getting people into houses. He knows how to negotiate in order to get you that best price on that house.
Now, Cynthia, how can our listeners find more information about Project Reinvest and get started with the application process? I mean, help us understand.
Yep, they can reach out to you, William, or they can reach out to me, and I can send them links in order to sign up for the classes, and then we can walk through what the first part of their challenge is and what that strategy is in order to get them into the house. And then we will, I think really the first step is that we just sit down and talk, and we don't have to sit down face to face. We can sit down in the video sessions. We can sit down on the phone, but we need to get a better picture of what your timeline is. What funds do you have? What funds do you need? Are you needing a 6-bedroom house, or do you need a 2-bedroom house? Do you need a backyard for your dog, or you'd rather have a little condo for you and other animals, cats, etc.? What is it that you're looking for? So we help build that plan for you.
All right. Well, we want to appreciate you for coming on the show and always coming here to, help our first-time home buyers understand, how they can, stop funding the retirement plan of another man and beginning to build generational wealth for themselves. And so, what is it? Friday, you're going to get a call from the other lady over there, Patricia, who says that by Friday she's going to get the second pay
Right?
stop. Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And so
We just
then
put a
we can.
plan together, and it's not always easy, but it's the first step. It's the first step. Take it. Even if I say not right now, the answer is never no. The answer is let's work to make this a yes. Let's get you into a house.
All right. Well, we want to appreciate you for your time, and we hope to see you back next week, Monday. Thank you very much.
Monday, yes, William.
Always helping my community to understand, how they can, stop funding the retirement plan of another man and begin building generational wealth for them and their generation. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday.
All right. Thank you, William. Bye now.
Thanks a lot.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Contributions flow, helping that investment grow. Legal term, wrapped up in a piece so firm. Legal term, letting all my money burn. Hold up, pause the beat. You're making that generous monthly contribution, but are you building your legacy? Whether it's your first home or move up.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Stuck in comfort, stuck in fear. That's why I'm staying here. my lord. While I sit here paying rent, my future cash is already spent. Some days fast, some days slow. That's just how the tenants go. But if you listen to the sound, it's your money. I'm letting the ground call me.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Every check that I have sent vanished in the void of red. Stop the vanishing now. Yeah. Void thinking, that's the key to break the chain of tendency. Stop the agenda, resupply. It is time for me to buy. Let's legal turn. How I make the
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Don't perpetuate yourself in Tennessee. Make the move. William Carver. Helping you buy, sell, and invest with confidence. Pick up the phone, let's change the path. Call or text me. 1-651-33044.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Let's make it simple. It's time to talk about the elephant in the room. You're real good. We talking Minnesota.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
But first, let me ask you. Help me understand.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Watch the numbers running out. Send the check to someone new.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Money rushing left and right.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Yeah, so first, we were supposed to buy from Bill. However,
once working with him, what do you like?
Yes, he did a good job, and everything went very well. And so he very focused pricing. And I will ask that anyone that wants to buy a house, he will be one of the best realtor to work with. Thank you.
All right. For those of you who are perpetuating yourselves in tenancy, just making those generous contributions on a monthly basis, help me understand this 2026. What is stopping you from financially forward thinking? Talk to you soon.
Oh.
Yeah?
Hey.
I can't
do that. Yeah. I already took it down. Yay. Hi. Yeah. Yeah. So how was your experience today?
Amazing.
Oh, bye-bye. Say bye.
Very, very amazing. So proud, brings tears to my eye for the kind of work he has done in a short period of time.
Guys, can I show you something about preaching? I'll just.
Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future. Every month you send a check. You call it rent. I call it a generous contribution to someone else's future.
Yeah, so first, we were supposed to buy from Bill. However,
once working with him, what do you like?
Yes, he did a good job, and everything went very well. And so he very focused pricing. And I will ask that anyone that wants to buy a house, he will be one of the best realtor to work with. Thank you.
All right. For those of you who are perpetuating yourselves in tenancy, just making a generous contribution on a monthly basis. Help me understand this 2026. What is stopping you from financially forward thinking? Talk to you soon.
The red one.
Yeah?
Hey.
All right. And so we'll leave you for today. But for those of you who are perpetuating yourself in tenancy, help us understand this 2026. As well, we do it in another episode.
I already took it down.
See you later.
Yay. Hi.
Dinner. All two at a time.